Hello everyone, I'm Becky Goldsmith with Piece of Cake, and I have a very quick cutting and piecing tip for you. So yesterday I had to cut a whole bunch of scrappy strips to make half square triangles. So I started with 1.5 inch strips. And I was going to take my ruler and cut them all individually because I was going to mix things around. And then I thought, I am really lazier than I'd like to be today. I thought, now wait a minute. What if, to keep this all lined up, what if I placed my fabric right sides together like this? Now, the reason this is going to work so well for me is because I always wash my fabric in the washer before I use it, and I dry it in the dryer. So my fabric has a little bit of a nap to it and it sticks together. There's a whole lot of other reasons why you might want to wash your fabric, but for this, that's a really good reason. Now, I was very careful in my piecing, so you'll notice that these things are fitting together perfectly, and I can feel it right there. I press my seam allowances to the dark. Those of you who press your seam allowances open, this might not be as good of a trick, but I really recommend you press your seam allowances to one side almost all the time, so there. All right, with these together, I can place my ruler on top, and I'm lining up a straight line with the seam line. And honestly, I'm not going to do it backwards. I'm going to go ahead and do it the correct way rather than reaching around backwards with my hand. So I've got the seam line along that line, and now I'm going to trim away this end. And I can turn this because I'm on the Quilter's Select ruler, so I can turn it and everything stayed together. So then I started cutting. And my initial thought was, well, I'm just going to cut these and then break them apart and, sew them back together scrappy because I wanted to mix things up. I had more than just these two strip sets. There were a lot of fabric combinations. But as I cut these and I pulled them apart, I realized these are ready to sew. How perfect is that? I mean, all I have to do is pick them up and take them to the machine and sew them. And again, they're not sliding out of position as I move them around. I had them all over the table because the fabrics they're kind of sticking together because I washed them in the washer and dried them in the dryer. And I didn't add starch or sizing or flatter or any of those things. It's just washed, dried, pressed with steam. Okay, then I got to thinking, well, if those are ready to sew, but I want to mix things up, maybe all I have to do is cut a few strip sets and then switch out the strips together. And it worked like a charm. It was some of the easiest trimming for scrap piecing I've ever done. Fastest. I mean, it was just really easy. All right, so that's how you would do 2 fabric strips to make half square triangles. But I also have to cut a whole bunch of these units that are reverse value and color. So here I've got to cut, I don't know, like 12 of this one in one size and more or less of another combination, but of the ones that I can cut the same numbers of, I'm going to do this. So you'll notice that here I've got the darker strip to the inside of 2 lighter strips. So this is finished 2 inches, finished 1 inches, and it's the reverse here. So all I have to do is turn these right sides together, and I'm finding that first wetting of the seams right here. And then I'm looking at the raw edges along the top to help me keep that in line. And then all I have to do is go down here. I can feel it. I can feel that those are perfectly matched. So it's the same drill. I will cut as many as I need, and then I'll mix it up and see what else I need to cut together. But it's a faster way of cutting 2 units at a time. Now, I would not stack units on top of each other. So you might think, well, I've got more to cut. Why don't I put this on top and do it? The reason I wouldn't is because every time you cut these, you've really got to be aware of keeping your ruler straight with those seam lines. And if you start stacking too many pieces on top of each other, things get cattywampus. But here, I can feel it. I know these 2 units are all lined up. It's going to make it easy to cut. I think it's pretty sweet. Now, I may not be the first person that's thought of this. Probably I'm not. But I had never thought of this myself before, and if I haven't, maybe you haven't either. So there's my tip of the day. May you have many happy stitches, and thank you for watching.